This is the new Mark 8 Volkswagen Golf R. With 320 horsepower, it's the most powerful series production Golf ever.
And it's got very big boots to fill. The Mark 7 Golf R was a phenomenon. It was good to drive, great to live with, but it was something else that made it one of the most popular performance cars on the road. Cheap lease deals. 300 horsepower for 300 quid a month. Who could resist that?
This latest version is more expensive than the last, starting at £39,270. Nonetheless, expect to see those tempting lease offers pop up anytime now. But will this new Golf R be as good to drive as the last? Actually, it should be even better. The engine is still a 2-litre turbo with a squishy rubber cover, but there's a bit more power, 10% more torque, 310 pound-foot of the stuff, a DSG gearbox is standard, and, most importantly of all, a brand new 4-wheel drive system. More on that in a moment. VW says the Golf R will hit 62 miles per hour in 4.7 seconds and run on to 155.
Or if you've spent £2,000 on the optional R Performance Pack, 168 miles per hour. Now this car doesn't have that pack, but if you do tick that box on the options list, you also get 19-inch wheels, a more prominent spoiler at the back, and 2 specific driving modes, one for the Nürburgring and a drift mode. That's a first for the Golf R. Now how can we tell we're in a Golf R? Well, we've got blue accents everywhere on the seats, blue lighting, these blue icons, a little bit on the steering wheel as well, blue dials, blue stitching, all very blue. And I can see 3 of those very italicized R's. There's one down here, there's one here, which gives you race mode, and then there's one in the middle as well. The interior feels good, high-grade materials, flashy digital displays. I like the seating position. I'm not too sure about these touch-sensitive, no, I'm not going to talk about those again. Now I do like these gear shift paddles. On a GTI, you have these tiny little ear-sized flaps behind the steering wheel, but in the Golf R, you get these extended paddles. They're much better. The thing about the Golf R is that it's a hot hatch all-rounder. It's not like a Renault Sport Megane 300 Trophy, a hardcore hot hatch. This is a very different kind of car. You're supposed to be able to use it every day, put it into use as a family car effortlessly, and it just be comfortable, undemanding, easy to use, easy to live with. That is the whole point of a Golf R. And this one, it does that stuff so well. It's comfortable, it's refined, it's civilized, it looks pretty discreet. It would be a pleasure just to use one of these cars every single day. That's the boring stuff out of the way. Let's talk about something more fun. Let's talk about the engine. Still, the Golf R uses the EA 888 2-litre turbo engine. That thing just refuses to die. It seems to have been around forever. It's now in Evo 4 guise, so it's been evolved a lot over the years, and it's still right on the money. 320 horsepower. It feels strong, it's responsive, it's energetic, it sounds pretty good. We've now got much more torque than before, so it's a really strong engine. It's very difficult to fault. What about the way it sounds? I'm in race mode at the moment, where you get a bit more noise from the engine and the exhaust is more vocal. And it kind of sounds okay. There's some sort of tune in there, isn't it? It's being piped in, but I think it sounds pretty good. And the gearbox, DSG, it's so quick, it's so sharp. It's almost too quick and too clean. It's so efficient and effective that there's no drama or excitement about a gear shift whatsoever. I suppose you can't really fault it for that. These paddles, I've said, they're much longer than the GTI paddles. It's just a shame that there isn't a more satisfying action. It's quite a short little punchy throw. I'd like a more substantial paddle and a more deliberate throw. So the powertrain is mighty effective, and it gives this Golf R masses of performance. It really is quick, this thing. However, the chassis, the four-wheel drive system, the whole powertrain itself seems so untroubled by 320 horsepower that you kind of think you want more. You drive this thing and think, lovely, but wouldn't it be nice if it had 400 horsepower? It just seems so within itself at 320. I'm not really complaining though. It's a good engine with bundles of performance, and it makes this thing properly fast. Before we go any further, I want to show you the Golf R's rear axle. Actually, what I want to show you, you can't see, so you're going to have to use your imaginations. But in there somewhere, between the two rear wheels, is now a standard fit R Performance torque vectoring differential. The previous car didn't have one of those. The new four-wheel drive system can now send more torque to the rear axle, and that differential can split the torque between the rear wheels, up to 100% of available torque to the outside rear wheel, in theory.
That's the single biggest difference between this Golf R and the previous one. It's how this new car is able to have that optional drift mode. The Mark 7 never really felt like a four-wheel drive car. It just drove like a front-wheel drive car with lots and lots of traction. But this new one, with its trick four-wheel drive system, should feel very different. It should understeer less, be more neutral through corners, and generally feel better balanced. But which is it? Game changer or marketing puff?
I loved the last Golf R. I lived with one for a year, used it every day. I came to know it inside out. This thing, there is no question about it, is more exciting to drive. It's more rewarding, more responsive. It's more agile. I don't think it's better in every single way though. The previous Golf R, it had a crispness about its steering. The steering in this car, comparatively, is just a little bit gloopy, but it's not bad at all. Everything else though is an improvement. The adaptive dampers, for instance, are brilliant. You've got loads of adjustability, something like 15 individual settings for how stiff they are. Even in the very stiffest mode, they don't beat you up. In the very softest mode, you've got a wonderfully supple, compliant ride that just irons out the road. This car's got 18-inch wheels with slightly chunkier tyre sidewalls, and that will help with the ride. If I was buying one of these cars, I wouldn't bother with the £2,000 R Performance pack. I'd just have a more basic car with the 18s. That means my Golf R wouldn't have a drift mode, but I think I could probably live without it. Right, let's talk about the rest of this car's chassis. You've got those adaptive dampers, which means it can iron out the road beautifully. The previous Golf R did that. The chassis worked so well, the suspension just felt so sophisticated over a bumpy road. And that's where a lot of your confidence as the driver came from, because you knew the car would grip. You knew it would grip. You had that faith in it. You've still got that in this new model, but it's more agile. It tucks into a corner really beautifully. It feels more neutral at the apex. I love when you tip it into a bend, you feel the front axle bite, dart in towards the apex, the body of the car lean outwards in a really natural way, and that just gives you such a clear sense of how much grip there is beneath you. You feel it. You feel it through the steering, you feel it through the seat, through the whole car. You just know how much grip there is. And then, because of that clever new four-wheel drive system with that torque vectoring differential, when you stomp on the power coming away from the bend, rather than try to push on and understeer a little bit, the car is neutral. It just hooks up and fires itself away from the bend, which means you can get on the power so early. This is a more adjustable car than the previous Golf R, not only on the power, but on the way into a corner as well. When you're off the power, there's this window of adjustability about it. It's lovely. It makes the car much more involving and exciting to drive. So you've still got all that wet weather pace, all that everyday usability, all the performance, more performance in fact. that you had in the old car, but in this one you've just got a more rewarding chassis underneath all of that. If you're looking for a really thrilling hot hatch, you'll want a Renault Sport Megane or a Honda Civic Type R, or maybe that Golf GTI Club Sport that we tested recently. But if you're looking for an everyday hot hatch, an all-rounder, this new Golf R, this is the one you want. It's so good.
This latest Golf R isn't necessarily better in every single way, but it's just as good to use daily, it's faster than before, and crucially, it's now more fun to drive. The roads will be teeming with them in no time. A big shout out to everybody who helped us reach 100,000 subscribers. Thank you. If you haven't subscribed to the PistonHeads YouTube channel yet, why not do it now?